What's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we finally get to take a look at the long-awaited AYANEO Slide. Now, a lot of us have been waiting on this for a while, and if you're into these handhelds with the built-in QWERTY keyboard, this one might be for you. I mean, we've got some really awesome features here. And if you've been keeping up with AYANEO news, you know this is coming to us from their brand new remake line, and that kind of explains the packaging and everything. Just taking a look at it on the desk, it looks like an oversized VHS tape, and they were definitely going for this. Personally, I think it's one of the coolest boxes that I've seen with a product in a very long time. And we can go ahead and get the main packaging out. As you can see, yeah, it's a VHS tape. So I think they did a great job right on the front, Ryzen 7840U. And inside of here, we have the AYANEO Slide. Now this thing looks great, and they're offering this in two different colors. They've got a black version, I've got the white version here, and overall, I'm a huge fan of this new handheld. Along with the slide itself, we also get a few accessories, like a 65-watt charger. We also get a USB Type-C cable, and some wall adapters so we can use that charger basically anywhere in the world. Of course, AYANEO is calling this the Slide for a reason, and that's because we do have a slide-up screen and a QWERTY keyboard underneath it. But just taking a look at the overall design itself, I think it looks great. It's a little thicker than I was expecting, but you know, we've got a smaller handheld. It's got a 6-inch IPS display. But the main claim to fame here is that slide-up display with a keyboard right underneath it. We've got a backlit QWERTY keyboard. Plus, we've got a little bit of tilt to that screen. We can go up to 30 degrees, giving you a better viewing angle. But to tell you the truth, I mean, the IPS display that they chose to use in this is so good already. It already has awesome viewing angles. Overall, I love the design that they went with. They're offering this in two different color variants right now, black and white. And when it comes to the built-in controls, we've got that good old AYANEO D-pad, definitely one of my favorites. We can pull off our favorite special moves. We can play platformers without having to worry. It also has Hall-based analog sticks with those RGB rings around it, Hall-based triggers around back, and of course, right in the middle, we've got that RGB backlit keyboard. And this does come in really handy. We've also got a dedicated AYANEO button that'll bring us into ISpace at any time. Up front, we've got dual stereo speakers, USB 4, and a micro SD card. Well, that's kind of really on the back there. But both of these are USB 4 40 gig full function, so we can actually do up to 2 displays out, or you could go ahead and connect an eGPU to this if you want to. Power button also dubs as a fingerprint sensor. Of course, we've got those shoulder buttons, analog triggers. We've also got our volume up and down, plus a couple extra buttons up top that we can map from software. And I'm sure you probably noticed the massive exhaust system we have here. They're using their brand new 3+2 triple copper tube cooling system. And with this, we can easily go up to 28 watts with the slide. We've got that 7840U, and at 28 watts, this is going to be an awesome performer. Taking a look around back, not much going on here, but I really do love the super clean design that AYANEO has always come through with. And I definitely wanted to show you this backlit keyboard in action. From ISpace, we can control the color of it. So it's pretty bright here. You're not going to have to worry about not being able to see these keys at night. Getting right into the specs of the slide, like I mentioned, this is powered by the AMD Ryzen 7 7840U. It's based on Zen 4. We've got 8 cores, 16 threads, base clock of 3.3 GHz, and a boost up to 5.1. Along with this APU, we have the 780M iGPU based on RDNA 3, 12 compute units, and it'll run up to 2700 MHz. You can pick this up in a few different RAM and storage variants, 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes of RAM, but all of them are going to be using LPDDR5X running at 7500 megatransfers per second. And along with that RAM, it will kind of reflect your storage. You can go with 512 gigabytes, 2 terabytes, or all the way up to a 4 terabyte unit, and all of them use a 2280 PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD. It's got a 6-inch 1080p IPS display with that adjustable screen angle, 10 degrees up to 30, 368 pixels per inch, 400 nits of brightness, and it's 100% sRGB. We also have Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, a 46.2 watt-hour battery with 65-watt fast charging capabilities, 6-axis gyroscope, X-axis linear motors, and this is running Windows 11. Okay, so first things first, slide-up screen, super satisfying. Having that tilt is really awesome, just in case you're in a situation where you really can't see the screen, but like I mentioned, most of the time you're going to be able to because we've got such a nice IPS on this. The keyboard here definitely gets the job done, and the keys are a lot wider than some of the other handhelds on the market with a built-in keyboard. But I'll tell you, if you're holding it like a handheld's supposed to be held, it's a little hard to reach in with your thumbs. Now, it's definitely possible, and usually I kind of find myself typing with one hand or one thumb and just kind of supporting the unit with the other. But this can definitely be done. And the keys feel really nice here. But you can always lay this thing down on a flat surface and type on it just fine. Now, with all of these AYANEO devices, we've got IASpace built in. This is no different. And it's the newer IASpace, so we've actually got a lot to go over. In order to kind of get this done, what I'm going to do is plug this into my game capture just so we can get a better look at everything. But I do really want to go over a lot of this stuff that we have here with IASpace on the slide. Okay, so I figured I'd move in a bit closer to give you a better look at IASpace. There's actually quite a bit in here. Now, if we press the AYANEO button on our device one time, it's going to bring up our smaller menu. This is kind of our quick access menu. It's really nice to have this because you can do it at any time in a game, basically anywhere in Windows. And from this menu, the very first option we have is performance. We've got a few different profiles: AAA game, normal, retro game, PC, and office. So as you see right here, our TDP limit is changing with these. So AAA game, I've got mine set or manually set to 28 watts. Normal game 20, retro 15, office way down there at 9. We can also manually adjust this. Now personally, I usually leave it at AAA game, but we can also create a custom profile from another menu. I'll show you that in just a second. We can also change our FPS limit. And keep in mind, if you hover over this for a little while, you will get an explanation of what's going to happen when you change this setting. TDP limit, manually set this. Smart TDP, which is really great. This kind of deserves its own video. This will turn off the turbo frequency of our APU. Now it's saying 6800U, but we've got that 7840U here with RDNA 3 graphics. Basically, what this is going to do is try to keep our game at 60 FPS, and it'll go up to 28 watts or whatever device you're on. Just happens to be that we can do a maximum of 28 watts on the slide. This is really great to experiment with. It can definitely help out while saving battery, but sometimes you might just want to manually set your TDP for, let's say, just a little indie game. You can go down to 5 watts and play it just fine, and in some cases, Smart TDP may run you a little higher. It's not perfect. It's been getting a lot better, and AYANEO has implemented this very well on their devices, but it's really up to you. I would definitely at least try it out a few times. Built-in performance overlay, and this is FPS Thunder. So over on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see we've got everything we need to know about this device. This will display over games. It'll display over the desktop, as you can see. And we've got a couple different formats. We can go with simple, which is going to be up in the top left-hand corner, horizontal, or our vertical, which is going to give us everything we need. Now, you could also use Afterburner if you want to, or Riva Tuner. It's up to you. Fan configuration, mute, balanced, max. We can also set a custom fan curve here. And I'm going to go with balanced, linear or ladder mode. So there's a lot of performance tweaking that we can do directly from the quick menu. And we've also got all of our settings here. Screen brightness, volume, we can go to airplane mode, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, mute, download with screen off, controller settings, vibration, low, up to high, sensitivity on the analog triggers, sensitivity on the joysticks, and remember we've got Hall-based analog triggers and Hall-based sticks here. Set our dead zone, gyro adjustment. From RGB, this is going to give us our analog RGB rings, and since we've got a keyboard built into the slide, we can also enable it or disable the backlight here, and we've got a few different color options. Personally, I think the red looks pretty good with the white version that I have here. But it's really up to you, and hopefully we do get more color options down the road. But right now, with it being so early, we're a little limited. Quick Assistant, and we've got our system. So from here, we can check for updates, system settings, task manager. Pressing our AYANEO button one more time, we'll shut down the quick menu. But there's a lot more to IASpace, and we can get in there by holding this AYANEO button, about 2 seconds. We've got our game launcher right here. All of my installed games automatically scan my default directories for me. It downloads metadata, it downloads box art for us. We can launch the game directly from here, or we can totally remove it from our library. We can delete it directly from the device itself, and we can also set up custom profiles per game. Installed games, basically the same thing. It's just going to give us a larger list of all the games we have installed. And of course, we've got our main settings. From here, you can sign in with your AYA ID. Performance, basically same thing we took a look at in the quick menu, but from here we can set up a custom preset. So personally, I like leaving it with, AAA game there and then turning that TDP up if I need it, or turning it down. But we've always got that option for a custom preset. And moving down the list, monitor, which is going to be our on-screen overlay, startup and optimization, Bluetooth, network, customize. From here, we can set a different theme for ISpace. We can also change our font colors and everything like that. General settings, we can change our language. Controller, again, we can fully customize the built-in controls here all the way down to the keyboard in the slide, changing RGB and everything from controller. Storage, update, and about. So yeah, I've actually been a big fan of ISpace, and this is their newest version. Over the past year or so, they've added a slew of new features which really help out the end user when it comes to customizing performance and just customizing everything on the handheld in general. Next thing I wanted to take a look at were some benchmarks, and this has definitely fallen right in line with other 7840U powered handhelds on the market. With 3D Mark Night Raid, we got a total score of 27,125. Fire Strike, 7,535. And finally, Time Spy with a 3,144. Just to put this into perspective for you, the highest score I've ever got on the 7840U at around 60 watts was 3,300 with Time Spy. So we're right in line where this chip needs to be. Now it's time to test out a few games, and first up we've got Forza Horizon 5, 1080p, medium, 15 watt TDP. Really awesome performance out of this game on the 7840U, and the Slide is handling it just fine. Of course, if we want to take that frame rate up, we could definitely up that wattage, but this is going to give us great battery life along with awesome gameplay here, because we got an average of 71 FPS. Next up, we've got Street Fighter 6, and while we're here, I figured we'd go ahead and test out this D-pad. It is an AYANEO D-pad. I love the way they feel. It's kind of got a medium squish to it, awesome roll, very accurate, and you can pull off your favorite special moves or play your favorite platformers with no issues whatsoever. They've done an absolutely amazing job designing these D-pads. One newer game that's given these RDNA 3 based APUs a run for its money is Mortal Kombat 1. Now with this, we did have to take that wattage up. We're at 720p low Mortal Kombat 1, but it is running at a continuous 60 FPS. When this game first released, we were hard pressed to get a constant 50 out of it, even at 28 watts, but now we can actually run this game at full speed, and it feels great on this device. And finally, we've got some Cyberpunk 2077, 28 watts, so in order to get really great performance out of this, you definitely want that higher wattage, unless you don't mind dropping the resolution down and adding a bunch of FSR. We're at 1080p, low settings, FSR is set to balance. We didn't even have to go to performance, and we can get an average of around 72 FPS with this game. And when I say we're at low settings, I mean we go into the settings and turn all of it to low. That's how you get good 1080p performance out of this on an iGPU. But yeah, I mean, it's really playable on the Slide. And I love the feel of this device. I mean, it fits right in the palms. Very comfortable to hang on to. And in my next video, we will test out more games. Another thing I wanted to cover was battery life. And right now, I am working with an earlier BIOS. I've talked to the AYANEO team and they've assured me that a lot of this will be fixed. But right now, it definitely looks like it's drawing more than it needs to be. I've got the RGB for the keyboard and the analog sticks off. It's not going to draw much with that on anyway, but I wanted to go ahead and disable it. Screen brightness is at 100% and we're at a 15 watt TDP. I've also got turbo boost turned off, and right now at 15 watts, it looks like we're drawing around 32 watts from the battery. Now I tested this at 15 watts, 10 watts, and 22 watts. And with that information, we can get average battery life because we know exactly how much is drawn and how big this battery is. Remember, we're on an early BIOS. It's got a 46.2 watt-hour battery, using an uncapped FPS with Cyberpunk, screen brightness at 100%. At a 10 watt TDP, total draw from that battery is 23.4 watts. That's around 118 minutes. At 15 watts, it jumps up significantly to 32.6 watts. Now this is something that definitely needs to be addressed in the next BIOS update, because that's given us right at around 85 minutes. And the last one here is a 22 watt TDP. This was actually set at 20 watts, but it had that boost for so long, I just calculated it at 22 watts. Total draw 43.2 watts, giving us around 64 minutes. Okay, so first impressions here. Love the design. We've got an awesome D-pad. This thing is really comfortable to hang on to, even with the screen all the way extended. It's really up to you. I mean, you can always leave it closed until you need to use that keyboard, or you could use it indefinitely with that screen open. 7840U offers awesome performance, and now with all of the newer driver updates from AMD, we do have access to HyperRX. In my next video, we'll test that out with more games, so if you want to see a specific game running on this, just let me know in the comments below. But so far, I'm a big fan of the Slide. Now, that BIOS update definitely needs to happen so we can lower that total draw from 15 watts. I think they can get this down to where the Steam Deck is, around 26, which will definitely up that battery life. It's just going to take some testing and more optimizations in that BIOS update, and I'm sure that's something they can make happen. But yeah, I do like it. Really nice. If you're interested in learning a little more, I will leave a link to the official AYANEO website and Indiegogo. This is up right now. If there's anything else you want to see running on the Slide in my full review video, just let me know down below. But that's going to wrap it up for this first look video. And like always, thanks for watching.